My training was from a very early age, like most of the people in the city. We went to Saturday classes and all, but where it took me was very interesting. I joined Uday Shankar's school, Uday Shankar Culture Centre, and that is where my whole thought about dance changed, coming in touch with that very vibrant creative dance school surrounding training, along with other very exciting dancers, other creative dancers who were working in Calcutta at that time, like Manjushree, Bisakha Sarker. Those things really shaped my artistic vision. Coming to England, it was really hard to find opportunities for dance. We were moving from one place to another. The atmosphere at that time was quite different. There wasn't this much opportunity for dancing, and especially doing Indian dance. It was mostly community events. Things kind of changed. There was an opportunity came when Arts Council has started a movement called Animator Movement. So that gave me my first job in dance. I was appointed the South Asian dance animator for Merseyside dance. And that opened up a completely different world of dance from the way I knew it in India, to find other ways of dancing. And that is where I was introduced to this concept of community dance, which is a word which we have never heard. I was introduced to working in schools, from nursery school to higher education, and various other community centers where people gather to do various arts activities. So when I was introduced to those opportunities, I realized that the way I have learned dance and the way I knew how to present it is not really going along with the settings there. The atmosphere wasn't there to hold my Indian dance as I knew. So that is when I kind of naturally started to look at various other opportunities, to introduce other art forms, to start collaborating in a way to make dance and more easier, Indian dance, a more easier experience for people for whom I was dancing. Collaboration have been really the life force for all my artistic work and all the development. I remember once Maggie Semple asked us, why do we dance in a workshop, all of us? And I really thought, and she said that it can't be money. So we all had to think about it. And I remember thinking that it is really to find an alternative family. My very first collaboration has been with Sanjeevini Dutta. It kind of came quite surprisingly and suddenly. We don't come from the same dance background, we don't come from the same city, we don't even do the same style. It was through this brilliant photographer Ray Clark that we met each other. And somehow we found that though we are not coming from the same school of dancing, we somehow share similar school of thinking. Our first collaboration was to make the film Dance Wherever You May Be. And but in that we just brought in our ideas, we thought about it, we just did our own dances, we did one piece together, but we were thinking together. And actually, through some errors and trials and challenges, we actually came up with a very interesting way of analyzing dance. And that has been a very important framework for all our later work. Instead of looking at dance in separate areas like, eye movement, hand gestures, rhythm work, we realized that for this new generation and the new setting where we are placing our work, a good way of analyzing it will be through shape, rhythm and expression. When I joined Merseyside Arts as animator, at that time the word accessibility was very important, which is not a word we hear that much now. But the emphasis was in accessibility. So I had to develop content, methods of teaching, the language of teaching to address that element of accessibility. Then Liverpool became European Capital of Culture and various other opportunities opened up. And it was the idea of Julie Hannah, who thought of a project called Waiting. While people wait for a diagnosis or sometimes with illness and things like that, they lose their control. They're very much in the hands of other people telling them what is the diagnosis and all. So she was wondering, what can anybody do? How can they bring art to maybe reduce the tension, or at least give some moments of relaxation within that tense time. This particular work happened in hematology department. We have got a red thread, and one of our colleagues, a musician, Chris Davis, and our other collaborator, Ali Harwood, who is a brilliant artist and kind of thinker. We always share various discussion which leads us to understand what we are trying to convey. So we all worked together and went to this hematology department and worked in their waiting room. And one of the idea was Chris and Ali came up with this idea for the waiting as a common thread, which is what we forget. We just sit in a waiting room thinking, I'm the only one with this problem. I'm facing it. And that gives huge sense of isolation. So it came from the idea of how we can connect people out of the isolation. And a very obvious and naive sort of way of doing it was holding a ribbon. But that kind of created such interesting work. And this is the work that we did with Noel Williamson, who has often documented the work that we did with her. So this is one of the sitting rooms in Royal Liverpool Hospital where everybody joined in. Really, it seems like an impossible task, but it happened once people relaxed a little bit. Starting is always difficult, but when they relaxed, they all chatted with each other. And we also invited them to think about stories and whatever. And then I remember on that day, one of the stories was, when my mother-in-law met John Lennon. So stories like that. And then there was one gentleman there who was also called for her appointment, and he went in to see the consultant and told him that, why are you sitting here? You should be outside and joining us in the dance. And he said, later on, the consultant said that, I've never seen any patient coming to see me with a big smile like that. They always come with their anxieties. So in that way, waiting took us to various interesting situations and worked so well for the whole community. Fleeting moment came from actually another conference. And there was a young girl, 30s, she requested that, can you do a conference like this? That was an artist-led conference, so it was all mixed with lots of workshop thinking and lectures. It was not a lecture and seminar kind of a conference. So anyway, she said, can you do a conference like that, but for the children? Because she had a very particular problem, which is not uncommon for 30s, that generation. She had her parents, her mother, who was living with dementia, and young children, school age. So she couldn't bring these two areas of her association together. She couldn't explain to her mother why she needed to do whatever with the children, and couldn't tell the children why she needs to spend more time with the mother. She needed places where she can take both of them and they can do something together. That answer touched me, and I really wanted to think about it. So I thought, can we do a performance where both this group of people can come? I've also heard that people may not remember what made them happy, but they remember that they were happy. So with those thoughts in mind, I wanted to create a dementia-friendly performance, which is not necessarily only for people who are living with dementia. It is to welcome them as well. It is somewhere where people can go with their friends and family without having to worry and think about the condition. And it started from a brilliant book by Kathy Greenblatt called Love, Loss and Laughter. And it has a picture of a man crossing, a man and a woman crossing a street with an umbrella on a rainy day. And it says that to care for somebody living with dementia, you need to create an umbrella with love and care. Loved that concept, loved that photograph, and taking the idea from that, we introduced some umbrellas in our performance. Creating that small community under the umbrella released people's mind, and the joy and the smile in the faces of the participants was something that I'll hold forever in my mind. So that's how we came up with that umbrella dance. As your own body changes, you try to find different meanings of dance. It reveals to yourself. So you will have to look for other opportunities of bringing that essence of dance within that work. The most recent work I did was with Balveer Singh Company for the nativity play. I think I'll need the whole day to talk about it. It was fun. Mostly because Balveer also works in a very creative way of putting things together and collaboration as well. So when I went to dance for him, I really felt I'm also been taken as a collaborator with them. Going back to the very first question of creative dance, I realized how important creative dance has been in my life, and especially to extend my dancing career up to this age, that I could just go and join in with the younger dancers, and whatever was happening, I could shred out my old inhibitions that come with having to perform a set pattern. I just felt that my body has learned that language, so now I can fly with that language. And in the dance training, even in each dance class, we had opportunity to break the boundaries. And that habit has still there been with me. And it doesn't freak me out, or it doesn't bother me to just go and let go and see what comes up. And then something with more integrity may come through that. But that ability to break away from a set pattern has been really a big blessing.